Hey guys, it's Mark with Spiguyver Backpacking. Thanks for joining me today. I'm out here with some stuff in this backpack that we're going to talk about today. Now I've got some new gear with me. I've got some new straps for some suspension. I've got a new hammock, but those aren't what we're out here to talk about. So let me get this stuff set up, and I've got a set of quilts that I took with me on my White Mountain backpacking trip that I used there, tested out, that we're going to talk about today. So come on back, we'll talk about that. Let's go. Alright guys, so I'm out here today with this new hammock setup, new suspension setup. But like I said, that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about are these two quilts that I was using out on the Whites trip. So these quilts are from a company called Cedar Outdoors. You guys have seen me review some of their hammocks before. I reviewed two of their hammocks, one of which I suggested might be the best budget-friendly netless hammock on the market. Go check that one out. I've got a link to it right up above. So go see that. But today we're talking about two different lines of their quilts. You've got the LeConte, which is the top quilt that I used, and the Fontana, which is the underquilt that I used. Now the underquilt was not one that was sent from Cedar Ridge for me to actually do a review on. However, the top quilt, the LeConte, was. So this underquilt is actually a friend of mine, Chris. You guys have seen him in a couple of the videos. He did the Eagle Rock Loop with Beekeeper and I. This is his underquilt, and I borrowed it because it's a 40 degree. I wanted to go with 40 degrees out on that trip. I thought that was the perfect range. I talked with Warren, awesome dude with Cedar Ridge Outdoors. He had this one that needed to be stuffed. He stuffed it with the 850 Fill Power White Goose Down, sent it off to me, and that's what I used on this trip. So let's take a look at some of the details of these quilts. This is the Fontana underquilt. The one difference that Chris had done with this one is this is done in an M10, so a 10D outer and inner, as opposed to the 20D that normally comes with the Fontana. You can see you've got all of the normal adjustment points and suspension that you would normally expect to find. You've got hooks for hanging or positioning on your quilt or on your hammock if need be. But one of the things I really thought was interesting about this quilt is that the baffles running lengthwise do not go all the way to the end. So why? Why would he do this? Why would a design not have the baffles go the full length? So it's actually a really cool idea. So let's talk about that. So there's the question. Why would you have lengthwise baffles that don't go all the way to the end, don't extend to the end of your quilt? And it's actually a really good reason. So I lay head right, foot left. So this area of the quilt really doesn't need all that much insulation. So by moving the down around, you can actually pat it down to the end, move it around, and position it where you need it the most, thereby not only extending the range of the quilt, but really making it more suited to you, keeping a lower weight, and being able to effectively have a warmer quilt than what you would carry. Now, if you move around a lot, you probably don't want to shift it all to one side or have it so that it's on a diagonal. So you've got, for me, the head end with a big puffy spot, and then the puffy spot that extends across. If you're flip-flopping throughout the night and you've got a hammock that you can do that in, like this, the Dream Hammock Raven, which doesn't have a set head or foot end or head or foot side, lay direction, you can flip-flop all you want. And so if you have a quilt that you just leave stuff normally, you can migrate the down, put it however you need it. If you need more at the head end, move it to the head end. If you have cold feet, and you've got a full length. This is just a 3/4 length. Actually, this is a custom. It's 55 inches long, 45, I believe. I'll check the specs on that and I'll put them right down here for you guys to take a look at. But that's one of the other cool things, is Warren does all of the gear completely custom. You can go ahead and select whatever you want, overfill, different lengths, different sizes. Just get with him and that's what you'll have made. So I've laid the top quilt over the top of the hammock so that we can take a look at some of the features without having it laid down on the ground. What I will do is do an extra video or an extra little clip that shows it laid out so we can talk about and you can see all the stitching in here. But what I want to show you is this is a standard quilt, just like any other quilt you'd buy out there on the market, where it's open up top, it's open in the back. This one does have the optional hooks so that you can hook it to your pad. So if you're a tent dweller, a ground dweller, if you use tents and you use a sleeping pad, you can just hook this right into your sleeping pad, because some people have trouble with rolling around and having a quilt come off of them and having their foot or leg or arm or stomach flop out and get cold at night. So these are some of those added little touches, the little clips that hold it together, that Warren's thought of and made sure you're good. So the bottom couple of feet where your foot box is has snaps down the back, and draw cord can be opened up to vent your feet. If it's a warm night, vent them out, stick your feet out, open it up. You can open it completely up and have it just like a blanket laying over the top of you, just like you can with almost every quilt. Other thing you can do, optionally, foot boxes can be sewn, and the difference here between some that are out there, now I won't say all, because a lot of the different manufacturers out there are going to this style where you have horizontal baffles at the foot box that keeps all the insulation that is for the foot area down in the foot area, and then you have vertical baffles over the body that then you can shift and migrate the down to keep you warmer and to regulate a little bit better. That's one of the cool things about down products, is that you really can shift those. With a synthetic, and you've got a sheet of the synthetic material in there, it's always the same warmth everywhere. And if you are never cold in your stomach area, but your chest and shoulders are always cold, you can migrate some of that down from your stomach area up to your shoulders area. Or if you have a nice underquilt and the bottom of your feet, or the heels and the bottom side of your calves are staying nice and toasty from that, but you're getting a little bit chilly up at the toes, you can migrate some of the down from the bottom up to the top and regulate a little bit better that way. The construction on both the Fontana underquilt and the LeConte top quilt are top notch, just like everything I've seen from Warren. Stitching is beautiful. The care he takes in everything is great. He uses only white goose down, 850 fill power on LeConte, and as you can see in here, if you look, there is no variation of color. It is all white and it's stuffed very nicely. Now for the Fontana series, it is a mix of an 800 white goose down and an 850 duck down, and so it's a blend. Really, it's a 50%, 50%. So it comes out about an 825 fill power, and that's what's used there. Like Chris did with this one, you could contact Warren and get the fabrics changed out. It is an M10 inner and outer on the LeConte and a 20 on the Fontana. But if you want to switch things up, call him. Let him know. Let him know what you're looking for, and that's what he can do. Now, I will say I can 100% testify to a statement on the Cedar Ridge Outdoors website, and that is that they conservatively stuff, they overstuff by 20% and conservatively rate their quilts for a warmth rating, a comfort rating, not a survival rating. A lot of the like Sierra Designs, North Face, all of those guys, the temperature ratings that they give, if it says 20 degrees, you're not going to be comfortable at 20 degrees, but you can survive at 20 degrees. What he's done here is he's elected to go with a warmth rating. And so he wants to make sure that you're staying warm if his stuff is rated to 40 degrees, you should be warm at 40 degrees. The white strip, I used these. We had some cold nights and we had some warmer nights. By being able to vent, I was perfectly warm at those 65 degree nights, not too warm. And then when we got down to those cooler, we had one night that I verified got down to at least 37 degrees. I was actually quite warm and had no problems. The only thing I did have to do was throw on a hat, and I had a buff up around my face. That was it, and I was completely fine. Everything here worked great, true to their warmth rating. So let's take a closer look at some of the details of these quilts. Here is a close-up look of the two quilts laid out. You can see you can open the top quilt up completely and have it just like a blanket. You've got those horizontal baffles at the foot end. You've got snaps that run up the length with a double snap at the top of the horizontal baffles. Then you have the vertical baffles that run the top portion. Now what I do like is, along with having the double snaps up at the top, it has the pull tabs which end up being right at the back, rather than a lot of the companies have it right in the middle. And so it's right at your chin or your throat, or maybe even up on your face. I like where it's situated here. You've got the snaps and the pull tab right at the ends, right at the two sides. So you've got the other one over there. And then the other features, like I had mentioned, with the two on each side, the straps so that you can connect it to your underquilt or to your pad if you are sleeping in a tent or on the ground or cowboy camping. If we take a look at the stitching looks very nice all the way through. That down is stuffed in there very nicely, overstuffed for 40 degree. This one treated me really well. This is a 10D inner, 10D outer with an 850 White Goose Down, rating of 40 degrees. This is the LeConte top quilt. Here is Chris's Fontana underquilt. And you can see both inside and outside, because I'd shown you the outside, but even on the inside you can see that there is no baffle that runs all the way to the end. Kind of serves as a draft collar and as a place and a way to shift down around a little bit better. This one is a Fontana, yet it was done in the 10D inner and outer to save a little bit of weight. So it's got the beaners on here so that you can connect it to your continuous loops. Standard type of suspension system though, just like you'd find on just about any other top quality quilt out there. Now this one is done in the 825 blend of the 850 White Goose Down and the 800 Duck Down. Now with all of my reviews lately, I've been trying to give some constructive criticism, some feedback, so that the manufacturer can continue to make their products better and better with each iteration. So the one thing that I would say with these is using a 10D inner and outer. This is a very, very lightweight, silky feel. It's doubled over, which really makes it a triple, maybe even a quad roll here to sandwich where the snaps are attached. Now, what I would suggest, I really have a hard time pulling on these. I don't want to pull on them. I have to like put my fingernail in between and kind of pry them apart and pull at the same time, because I'm afraid with this very light fabric, if I just try and pull the snaps apart, I'm going to rip them out of the fabric. So something like reinforcements around it, or doing this entire stretch where you have the snaps with a backing of some Grosgain or something a little bit more substantial, would just give me a little bit of reassurance that I'm not going to rip those out. But with anything lightweight, weight, that's kind of the game you play. You know, how much do you want to save weight? How durable do you want it? And so those are the questions you have to ask. And you know, that was just kind of one very small thing that I had come up with that I thought I would pass along. So there you guys go. Great quilts. Served me really, really well out in the whites. I highly recommend Warren and Cedar Ridge Outdoors. Everything I've gotten from them, from the bricks, the cubes, the hammocks, and the underquilts now, have been top notch. I'm gonna have a hard time, a really hard time, parting with this underquilt and the top quilt, sending the top quilt back to Cedar Ridge and sending the underquilt back to Chris. But maybe my next quilt set comes from Cedar Ridge Outdoors. I think I am in need of a nice 30 to 32 degree quilt set. So I think they're at the top of my list right now for that next quilt set. If you guys have any interest in anything that Warren's doing, any of the other gear that he's got out there, stuff that he's doing, don't forget to go to his website, check him out. That's cedarridgegear.com. Go check out what he's got. Price ranges on these quilts. The top quilt ranges from $200 to about $375 if you want to go with any of the custom outdoor ink stuff or any of the overfill. The underquilts are a little bit lower than that. I believe this one was in the $160 range. So not bad compared to what else is out there in the custom range. Check it out. Maybe your next stuff. Definitely top quality. Definitely keeps you warm and very true to temperature range. I will see you guys down the trail. Thanks.